Okay, so we're gonna continue refactoring our code to make it more idiomatic for Kotlin and add additional coroutines. Um, so it turns out that there is a library in Vert.x that is a sort of wrapper for idiomatic Kotlin, and it provides special coroutines that can be used within your Vert.x application that are either suspense functions or unique coroutines to Vert.x. So just make sure that you have this installed and the Kotlin Coroutines core library also installed. And in order to use some of the newer functionality, we're going to have to upgrade our Vert.x to version 4.0 milestone 4. So the first change that we're going to make is to this set of wrapper functions. So what I was trying to do here was to use the suspend coroutine so I can get access to the result of every query, but in a Kotlin coroutine sort of way. So it turns out there are functions, suspense functions in Vert.x within that library I just showed you that basically do the same thing but in a much cleaner way. So yes, I forgot to do that. So let's do this first. Let's create, or let's wrap this in a class. And the only reason why I want to do that is because whoops. The only reason why I want to do that is because I want to not have to pass this in per call. So we can get rid of this. We can get rid of this. Just make the code a little bit lighter. To be honest, I don't know what I feel about doing this. If you remember, I'm doing this here as well. But I know no other way of doing this inside of the companion object. So I'm creating this. Certainly, if you guys have a better way of doing something like this in a companion object, because we don't need to instantiate this over and over. When the app becomes larger, this will get, if this was just a dedicated class, it would get instantiated over and over and possibly multiple places. Even though I could cache it somewhere, but still, why not just use this? So if you guys have a better way, definitely let me know. So in here, there is a new call, get connection await. So if you do that, you can also do this. And then you close the query. So if you do this, these are all suspend functions, as you can see. So it looks just like synchronous code. It looks exactly the same as synchronous code. So what is going on here? Oh, it must be because after I updated this, I did not do a sync. So the sync succeeded. And there it is. There it is right there. So as I was saying, these are suspend functions. So they look like synchronous calls, synchronous call 1, synchronous call 2. They look like they're synchronous calls, and then, but they're not. So they just await and then await, and then you have the result. And then before you return, you've got to close your connection because this is part of a pool. And then you return your row set. So we're going to do the same thing here. So we can get rid of all of this. So now we'll go here and we'll run the initializer. Again, I don't love this because if you forget to run this, then obviously when you run the others, you're going to get errors. But again, for companion objects, I don't know a better way. So we got rid of the client passing per call. So it's a slight bit cleaner, less annoying. So here, these are all suspend functions. So we can run suspend functions inside of suspend functions. So not a big issue. What is this? I missed one. Seems to be another error there, but let's see. Let's just continue fixing, and then when we compile, it'll show up. So in the entity fetcher, which is passing the, which is wrapping the entity call or the call to the database with a completable future so it can be sent to the GraphQL service. We're using one of the built-in Kotlin coroutines that returns a future. But what we need to do is we need to change the scope to the same scope that Vert.x is running under. And that's this scope. So that the context will be the same thread pool as the event loop of the dispatcher. So that looks okay. That's the only change we have to do there. Now in these other guys, there is actually a coroutine vertical, and it allows for suspend functions. Did I spell that wrong? So we do that here. Do that here. Now here, we can also take advantage of one additional functionality for reading files, which is this. Again, makes the call look like a synchronous call. So then I go here, and this really cleans up some of the code. So I'll save that. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be some kind of error. What is this? Oh, I didn't clean up. Okay, so it did compile. I went through this a little bit fast, but all I wanted to do was to use another suspend function inside of my overridden suspend start, which is now a suspend function because it's inside of a coroutine vertical instead of an abstract vertical. So I'm able to do this synchronous looking call, which is actually an awaiting call, a suspending call. So then, maybe this makes more sense if I put it closer to where it's being used. So this should compile properly, but while that's happening, so I get my file, I convert it to a string, I pass it as always, I didn't change any code here. So this did compile successfully. I'm still running my client. So everything still works. So this was a super quick video. I just wanted to show that there is capability built into Vert.x and you don't have to use standard Kotlin coroutines. I mean, you can, everything still works, but I would say, especially for the database calls, this is definitely a lot cleaner. Just make sure you close your connections so they can be reused. The other stuff was, pretty much the same. We just slightly shortened this, and here we just changed the context for the thread pool, and that's really the bulk of the changes. This wasn't really huge. It didn't make a big difference, but certainly if you're gonna run suspend calls and if you're gonna run coroutines, this will definitely enable that. Otherwise, it won't work. So that's it.